Well, I'm so glad you guys decided to join us today. I hope you will stay tuned. I have two guests with me today, both of whom that I hold in the greatest of esteem and love them both dearly. Eileen Trussell is our human resource manager, and she's my personal assistant too, which really means that I really don't know what to do if she's not around. So she does a lot of the scheduling. She makes sure that I know where I'm supposed to be at any given time. And she does so much more. It's not even fair just to call her that. She helps in the office doing coordinating with a lot of our advertising. She takes care of Facebook with Danny Vanek, who works at the mission, been on the show. And we have Jessica Trussell with us too. And she is her daughter, and she is, what, you're 47? No, I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, that would make me feel
Yeah, that would be wrong. No, you're 17?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Before we get started on that, and I hope you guys will really stay and listen to this because it's encouraging. It's something that warms my heart as well. But before we do that, I just had one of the graduates come into my office today, and he's back on track. Been about 3 years clean and sober now, 2 years, 3 years, doing great. Has reestablished a connection with his son, is walking in the faith, going to church. He got his driver's license back because there was a time in his life that he had multiple drunk driving charges. Totally different man, transformed by the power of the Lord Jesus Christ. And there's no other way to say it excepting that when a person is totally redeemed, when a person is just totally transformed, it shows. And he is. Now he's going to go back to work. He's got his apartment, got his son. He's a Marine, or was a Marine. But he's got a problem. He doesn't have a car, and we don't have any cars on the mission property to give him. That's what we try to do. We try to solicit for cars that are not just something we have to try to fix up, because we really don't have the finances for that. But if you have a car that's running and you really would like to help out a gentleman that has really turned his life around, or has had his life turned around, served our country, was a Marine, as I said, then if you would give us a call at 447-3268, we can set up a way for you to donate that car to us, and it will go not off to to some other organization or be sold or anything like that, but what it will do is go directly to somebody who really needs the help. And so he's not asking for a handout, he's asking for help with the car so that we can get him back on track. Pretty hard to work if you have to ride your bike there. And so this gentleman is in construction, has been looking for a job there, and I think that he's got an upcoming job that they're interested in, which also leads me to ask that if you have jobs and you are willing to take the chance on guys that have been on the street or involved in drugs or alcohol, then give us a call, because everybody needs a second chance to prove that they are different than they once were. I know that in my lifetime, God has given me many more than a couple of chances. So having said that, appreciate you guys, I really do. You know what? The people of Sacramento and the greater Sacramento area are generous, are kind and loving, and you talk about a huge faith-based community. There's a huge faith-based community here in Sacramento. So God bless every single one of you, and I just want you to know that there isn't a day goes by that we don't appreciate and pray for the people of Sacramento and the greater Sacramento area and all their contributions, whether it's financial, whether it's a car, whether it's clothing, or whether it's prayer. And truthfully, if you can't donate clothing or food or money, you can bathe us in prayer if you're walking in Christ, and that makes all the difference in the world in a ministry. So, having said all that, Eileen.
Yes, sir.
This is your daughter.
She is a lovely daughter.
Are you proud of her?
Oh, utmost.
Okay, now, Jessica, the reason that I brought you here today is that you got involved with the mission, doing something, and could you tell people what it is exactly that you were trying to get off the ground?
Well, since I'm a senior in high school now, one of the requirements to graduate is to complete a senior project, and you can basically do whatever you want, but it has to involve, community service and something that you haven't really necessarily done before, so something out of, out of your comfort zone, kind of to say. So, yeah.
All right, well, that's fair enough. So let me ask you a question. The obvious question that people are going to ask you is, did you just choose this because your mom works at the Union Gospel Mission? Or is there another reason for you to have chosen to do this?
Yeah, well, you kind of look at it first base and say, oh, well, that's just, I got lazy. And that wasn't the case. What the Union Gospel Mission does, my mom's been working there for a while now, and I've been able to help and understand and learn and grow in what the mission does, not only physically but spiritually for people who really need it, and that's something that is a huge part of my life. So I'm a huge believer in helping the homeless and doing and helping out in what they do. And so I knew that I wanted to involve my senior project with Union Gospel Mission just for that reason.
Well, I've seen you at the mission before. Of course, we all know each other, but I mean, before that, you've come down to help your mom, help at the mission, before you had a senior project to do.
Yeah, with the banquets and all the events that happen at Union Gospel Mission, I love getting to serve and help out, and I love it. It's great.
So what I really want you guys to understand, and this is the way of encouragement that I'm talking about. First of all, I'm talking to a 17-year-old, very pretty young lady who has volunteered her time, not just for her senior project, but at many other times when there was no recognition, there was nobody seeing what was going on. She was doing it because she loves the mission, she loves her mom, but she got a feel for the homeless. When you first started to come down to that, and by the way, the other part of that is, which is a great encouragement to me, is now your generation are referred to as the millenniums, or is that passe now and there's another designation for you guys? We were the baby boomers, which translates to, let me calculate this, old. But each generation they had the X generation and the, but whatever generation 17-year-olds are in right now, we've been told that over the course of the years that donations are going to decline because younger people do not have a heart that the older people did. They're not apt to volunteer. They're not apt to walk sometimes in the faith. Church memberships are going to decline. And I am telling you that from personal experience with Jessica, her sister, her mom, and her dad, that's not how Jessica feels. And so, Jessica, do you love the Lord?
I do.
All right. And you are committed to that, to walk in His path, are you not?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, having said all that, what is the difference in your impression from the Union Gospel Mission when you first heard that you were going to go down to a homeless mission? You hadn't had any experience before, had you?
No, not really.
Okay, so is it what you expected it to be?
Not exactly. First, my impression before my mom started working in Gospel Mission of the homeless necessarily was, I didn't really feel sorry for them. I was kind of the person who would point at them and, say, oh, go get a job or something, something
Sure.
awful like that. But, getting to the mission and being able to, experience hand on hand, what they have to go through and, the conditions that they're in when they're homeless, it's completely changed my perspective. And, it's something that I would have never really thought of, differently until now.
Yeah, what did you have any trepidation, Eileen, bringing your daughter down to the mission? Or by the time you brought her down, had your perspective on the homeless changed any?
Before I started, I felt the same way that, good for nothing, bum. And how I got the job was still Lord ordained.
I agree.
And I continue to grow in seeing how much there are people that just fell down the wrong path, but we all tend to fall down some kind of path, and how grateful I am that the Lord saved me.
Amen. Me too.
And so being at the mission now all these years, about 3.5, not that long, compared to Pastor Tim, you've been there, 19, 22 years?
No, well, no.
Oh, well, not working.
No, I've volunteered down there
right?
for just about 20 years. We started coming down with the church almost 20 years ago. And at that time, I didn't really know much about homelessness either. I had been in a trade for years before I was ordained into the ministry. And I like you, had seen people on the streets of Sacramento, and I thought, well, they're just, they're drunks and they're not trying and those type of things. I didn't hate them or dislike them or anything like that, but I certainly didn't want to come near them either. Once in a while, when I came to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, I certainly had somewhat of a different perspective on the people that are hurting and homeless, and I would buy them lunch or something like that. But as you pointed out 20 years ago, when I started coming down with the church, with a small cadre of people, we would come down. It's embarrassing to see the difference and to think of how we once were, because I wasn't unkind in the regard that I thought, okay, well, these people need to go out and get a job. By then, when I started to come down to the mission, I thought, okay, I see the need that there is. However, I said, God doesn't want us to be separated and to hold ourselves off, but these people, I thought a lot of them, they're really dirty and they've been on the streets, and I didn't really know how the whole process worked. I remember thinking, and I'm going to, if they want to shake my hand, even though I don't really want to do that, I'm going to, because God would want me to do that. So God has a great sense of humor, by the way. And so I remember I was out there, I had preached a message, we alternated people that were preaching, I preached a message, I went down, and a couple that was from the street came down, and their eyes were filled with tears, they started to cry, they'd been on the street a lot, they were kind of dirty and everything, and as I started to pray with them, they both threw their arms around me. And I remember thinking, funny God. And it seemed like for the next year or two, every time I prayed with somebody, they threw their arms around me. The reality is that I was not seeing through Christ-like eyes when I saw the difference between them and the person who drives a big, expensive car. The great thing about the mission is that people don't have to be dirty. They can come in and shower, and they can get food, and they can get counseling. They can get all kinds of things. But having spent those years, 8 years ago, when I was called to come and be the director of the Union Gospel Mission, by then I had been there for quite a while. I even had the most unfortunate thing happen. I had a gentleman cough on me who had a bacterial pneumonia, and I got a bacterial pneumonia. At least that's how the doctor described it to me, and if it wasn't him, I apologize. But all the testing ground for me to, when they called me at the mission and said, we would like you to be the director after extensive interviewing, I had a complete peace that I was to come to that mission. And yes, there are people that are lazy, there are people that may not have their mental faculties, but there are a great deal of people who just need our help. And you know what, even some of the people that have the mental problems can be helped, and some of the people that have just given up on life that you see and they just don't seem to care, the mission can touch. And so, Jessica, you've worked in the women's clothes closet before.
Yeah.
Okay, so the people that come in are not all homeless people.
No.
Did that surprise you?
Well, yeah. I don't know. What I thought was, oh, it's only homeless based, but you think about all the, what about the rest of the people who aren't homeless but really don't have anything at all? You know, UGM is a great place for, the people, like the women who have just, started off, but they don't, with, children and things like that, but they don't have a lot at all. And it's amazing opportunities for them to come and get what they need.
Yeah, sometimes women have lost a job. Maybe they have lost a spouse. They're on the very ragged edge. We've told the story on air many times about the young woman that came in who'd lost her job, lost her apartment, was living out of her car, had a job interview, but she didn't have anything really decent enough to make that interview. She came in, went to the Bible study. She got a very nice set of clothing, because we get oftentimes new clothing, not all the time, but sometimes. We get dress clothing, we get utilitarian clothing, and so consequently she had something that she could get. She got the clothing, and I guess it was a month or so, I don't know if you remember Eileen, Robin telling you about it, but a month or two later she came back in just to tell us that it meant so much that she got the clothing, because she was able to get the clothing and get the job, and she had gotten back in an apartment. That's a huge deal. Now, we're not responsible for her interview. We're not responsible for the fact that she got all that going again. But in a small way, we were there to assist when she didn't have the money for the clothing. And so I'm glad that we were able to do that. So you were going to say something, Eileen?
Most importantly is that everything that goes on each day is about the Lord.
Amen.
That's what makes such a difference, is we're not just giving out clothing and food and helping these people with good deed. We're really sharing who Jesus is and talking to them about how Jesus can change their life. And what excites me is when I see those great testimonies, like you just shared about the Marine who is now looking for a car. We have amazing testimonies of people who've recovered, men from our recovery program, to women who've gotten jobs, and just the hundreds of people who come by every day for dinner each night, or just using the showers or the clothing closet, that we're preaching the gospel. We are a true mission right here in Sacramento, so you don't have to go to Africa or another country. You can find a mission right here downtown Sacramento.
Yeah, we're on the ragged edge of society. Now, Jessica, as far as your school project goes, is there a certain amount of hours that they required you put in to make this happen?
A minimum of 20 hours. Yeah.
A minimum, but there's really no way for them to check that, is there?
Well, no, not really.
Okay, and so I would suspect that there's a lot of people that just are kind of shooting maybe for the bare minimum of what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Eileen, you were there all the time, and by the way, I know these things because I was there too. But Jessica put in a lot more than 20 hours on this project.
Oh yes, I think she's doubled it at least.
Okay.
At least.
First of all, she's also very gifted. She has an artistic bent, not only capable of drawing and putting things together, but she has that eye. And she was working, you two worked on the brochures together, did you not?
And with Anne, the flyers and the letters going out, and our database program collecting the names and addresses and email addresses.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you something, Jessica. Was it minimally successful, moderately successful, or was it highly successful?
It was extremely highly successful. I don't think that's the grammatically correct, but I wasn't exactly there every time that they donated clothes during the month that we had the clothing drive, but I know that they filled up a room full of clothes, which was unbelievable to me.
Did we define exactly what this senior project was?
Well, why don't you define what the senior project is for us? You know, I mean, I guess I assumed that everybody kind of figured that because I had kids. When I was a kid, we didn't have a senior project, but we were still drawing on cave walls. So, you know. But so, what is the definition then?
What did you do?
The defined parameters.
Well, the senior project that I did at Union Gospel Mission was I put together a women's clothing drive for the month of March. So during that month, we sent out bins to churches and left opportunities open for any individual who wanted to donate to the mission. So. Yeah,
and so Eileen, you helped to coordinate that with Danny, right? I think Danny take them out?
Danny helped. We had a driver who went out and collected all the items more than once, and just the community got together and just blessed us abundantly. And Robin Joleri, our women's clothing closet director or coordinator, she's still working on it.
Yeah. Yes, I know.
She loves us right now.
Yeah.
Lots of work, but just really abundant blessings that have just come in.
Now, did Danny help you just go with the flyers and stuff? Was he part of that, or?
Well, yeah. When I kind of had an image in my mind of what to do, but I'd never really learned how to coordinate it on a computer. So he was definitely there, right behind me, and putting it. This goes here, and you press this, and I didn't know really much how to do that. So I definitely learned a lot about that during the process.
Yeah, and Danny has worked. He's been on the air many times here. I often take Danny with me when I go to speaking engagements. He has a wonderful testimony, and the only problem I have with Danny is that often afterwards some of the young ladies like to come over and talk to him, but he's in the
What's
room
your phone
right.
number, Danny?
He's in the room right now
single.
filming this. Filming this for, I don't know why he's filming it, but he is.
This will be on the webpage.
Nothing's more exciting to watch than a radio program. That's probably why they call it radio. Now, we're down to 1 minute, so I want to talk the next time about how successful this was. So, listen, you folks out there, you need to remember, it's like Paul Harvey used to say with the rest of the story. But we're not going to tell you the rest of the story until next week.
Oh.
But I want to talk about the success that there's some personal testimony and those type of things. And, I was more than pleased. And I'm going to tell you, we had to make some modifications in what we were going to do, trying to ramp this whole thing up. And so we had to make modifications downward because of a lot of success that it had. And that is primarily, obviously, due to prayer. But we're down to 10 seconds. So you guys stay for next week?
Yes. Thank you.
Good. So until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. It'll take